Alright, so we got the full summary for 1091 and the truth is finally coming out. And I'll say the chapter isn't as bad as we thought it was gonna be. So the chapter starts with the Pacifistas and Vegapunk's Sea Beast weapons attacking the Marines. The Sea Beast weapons sink some Marine battleships, 2 Vice Admirals battle with them. Doll kicks one Pacifista in the face and the Vice Admiral with multiple chins uses a mechanical arm like Zephyr in Film Z to punch one of the Sea Beast weapons. Cut to Kizaru versus Santamaru and Kazaro kicks Santamaru. His entire body flies away because of the attack. Kazaro says, "Why are you siding with a pirate, Santamaru-kun?" And Santamaru says, "I will join with anyone to save Uncle Punk." Santamaru's flashback starts. We can see Kazaro, Vegapunk and Santamaru first meeting. It's the same story that ODA explained in One Piece. Volume 106 SBS. So in that SBS, ODA said, referring to a flashback between these characters, that the Marines received a report saying that wild bears are attacking human villages on a certain island and Vegapunk accompanied them to set up a system to fight bear. When the Marines were investigating the dangerous mountain, they came across a bull who defeated all the bears with sumo and reigned as the boss of the mountain. And that boy was Santamaru. He was a boy who was abandoned by villagers due to his violent behaviors when he was younger. Intrigued by the strength of that boy who didn't return to the village and is always hungry, Vegapunk hired him as a bodyguard. I always thought that Santamaru came from Wano. I just assumed that all of the people who have, like, a real traditional Japanese look to them in the One Piece world come from Wano, especially like a sumo guy like Santamaru, where we saw that sumo is for sure a thing in Wano. So maybe there's more backstory to Santamaru, I don't know. But they obviously didn't go to Wano because it's closed off to the Marines in the world government. Kizaru was the one who accompanied Vegapunk to help the villagers from the bears, and they met Santamaru there. Vegapunk hired Santamaru as his bodyguard, and Santamaru asked Kizaru to teach him how to fight to become a good bodyguard. So yeah, that explains why Santamaru is partly as strong as he is and why he was ahead of the curve pre-time skip, because back in Sabaody, he showed us that he had advanced armament. Hawk back to the present, Kizaru uses the Yasukani no Magatama to attack Santamaru. After that, Santamaru uses the Ashigari Dokoi to attack Kizaru, but Kizaru stops it without using his Logia power. So what Kizaru is doing here is like that light beam spam attack stuff that we see him do from time to time, where he flies up in the air and then Santamaru is doing like his almighty push thing. Actually, what we were just talking about with his advanced armament push thing that he does, it's like a sumo move as well. And apparently Kizaru is just brute forcing this thing, and he says, "I thought you as good as I can, but my guard won't lose to yours." After that, Santamaru is defeated by Kizaru's beam. Then Kizaru uses the command ship to command the Pacifistas and make them fight Vegapunk's Sea Beast weapons. Then he says, "I just fulfilled my mission, Santamaru-kun, I wish I could have saved you." Along with York Punk Records and the power plant, we can see a close-up of Kizaru's face, and he looks quite a bit more serious and angrier than usual. So yeah, this finally is making Kizaru break character for, like, the first time in the series, I guess. Santamaru is somewhat close to Kizaru, as we've seen, and he didn't like having to do this, but as he said before, he's kind of a slave to the system. I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially said that he's bound to being a Marine at this point and that he has to do whatever they say. Now, is Santamaru dead here? I doubt it. I mean, it is possible, but it just doesn't seem like this was a death sequence. And considering how Kizaru's acting here, maybe he just gave him a shot that's going to incapacitate him and not completely kill him because it is One Piece and that's what a lot of characters like to do. Cut to the outside of the labo phase. We can see that Vega Force 1 is carrying the Sunny to the other side of the island. And at the same time, Kizaru flies through the barrier inside the labo phase. Luchi attacks Vegapunk, but Stussy uses her own body to protect him. Sanji takes the bubble gun from Nami and traps Kaku inside a bubble ball. Then Zoro attacks Lucci, and both of them go through the wall and flies to the outside of the lab. Yeah, things are getting really exciting now. So we saw that Vega Force 1 was carrying the Sunny to the other side of the island. This was mentioned in the previous chapter because that's essentially how they're going to start their escape here. Vegapunk said that the northeast direction is where they'd be heading, which is on the backside of the island. And they could essentially just fly over the Navy's blockade with Vega Force 1. And then once it runs out of signal, because it can't go too far from the island, it'll essentially drop the Sunny, and then the Sunny can kid burst, making their full escape at that point. But Kazaru is intercepting the Vega Force 1, carrying the Sunny while it's going to the other side of the island. And Lucci straight up trying to assassinate Vegapunk here, which was his mission the entire time. That's why he came here. And we saw Lucci giving instructions to Kazaru in the previous chapter, and we knew that Zoro was going to be the one that attacks him. And I was wondering, like, okay, so why is it only Zoro? Because they're all there, aside from, like, Luffy and Frankie. And if they all teamed up, they would just dominate Lucci. I mean, Zoro by himself is enough, right? But this explains it. They're both going out of the wall, and they fly outside of the lab.so. This is a way to isolate them. And then as for Sanji, he's trapping Kaku with the bubble ball, the same bubble that the Pacifistas are inside of. So I don't know what this means for Sanji, because Kaku's pretty trapped in there. That bubble is overpowered. But it seems like two of the main fights that we're getting here is Zoro versus Lucci, which I guess is a consolation prize for Zoro, but should be somewhat competitive, Zoro versus Awakened Zoe and Lucci, but I'm for sure Zoro should take that fight, but then going to the next one. In the last page, we see that Kizaru is about to follow Vega Force 1, but Luffy appears and kicks Kizaru. And Luffy says, "Kizaru, we are 100 times stronger than 2 years ago," end of chapter. So, yeah, super exciting. Luffy kicking Kizaru. From what I've heard, he's not in Gear 5 at this point, so he's just base level hockey kicking Kizaru, which makes sense. He's not going all out here, but Luffy's not lying about 100 times stronger than 2 years ago, because maybe even more than 100 times Gear 5 compared to the Luffy we saw at Sabaody. Yeah, it's a pretty significant power leap, and I really wonder if we're gonna get Luffy versus Kizaru start to finish here. Like, is this gonna be the big fight of Egghead? And of course, it takes me back to what I've been talking about for months now about what's going on with Saturn. Is Saturn gonna fight somebody? We need to see Saturn fight. Don't get me wrong, Kizaru versus Luffy is awesome, and I'm really looking forward to it. But what's up with that, Saturn, though? We got to see that mythical Zoan Bison Devil Fruit in action. We got to just see how strong the Geros truly are. But then again, I guess we haven't seen how strong Kazaru truly is yet. He hasn't gone all out. So a lot of great options on the table here. Let me know what you think about this chapter in the comments. And if you like the video, guys, please give it a like. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.